Hey friends, Rochelle here. Lately the Lord has really had me on the topic of dominion and authority. And one of the things that he's been showing me is how it's all tied into the story of David. Before David stood before the giant, he stood in a field. He didn't have an audience. He didn't have anybody applauding him. He didn't have a platform. But that's where dominion was formed for David. 1 Samuel 17 says this, your servant has struck down both the lion and the bear. See, the lion and the bear to me represents the beasts of the earth, the real threats. I know many of you out there are facing some real threats in your life, but what you have to understand is that when you're facing threats, it's because you are called to take back territorial dominion, okay? David didn't run from the threats, though. This is what we need to learn from David. I love David. I just love the story of David. He confronted them. We have to make sure that the threats know that we are not afraid. That we are not afraid because David knew God was for him. That's why he was not afraid. He knew his God was for him. And so what I love about David is that he showed us that dominion isn't proven in public places. It was really in that private place that David had with the Lord, that place of worship, right? Before he became king, there was a lot of other things that happened. A lot of other things that happened. He had those hidden battles and private victories with the lion and the bear. He had public confrontation with Goliath, which was a huge giant. He had relational and spiritual warfare with Saul. Lots went on with Saul. And then once he was crowned king, he established authority for a nation. I don't know if you realize that when you take back territory, you're establishing dominion for a nation. So he didn't just suddenly step into authority and know how to conquer a nation. He grew in obedience and he did it through worship. I love that about David. And the Lord gave me a dream about a jaguar not long ago, and I was actually fighting this jaguar. Actually, my sister had the dream, but he gave me the dream from her. She called me and told me about the dream. And she said this, Rochelle, you were by no means losing. And that was a huge commissioning moment for me to realize that the threats and the things that were coming against me weren't just the enemy trying to throw things at me. It was because I was a threat to the enemy. So do you know that you are a threat to the enemy? But David's worship, his weapon was worship, okay? And David wasn't just a warrior. He was a worshiper. He would pick up that harp and he would begin to worship before he got the strategy from the Lord. I think that's so beautiful. Before he even picked up the stone, he picked up that harp. And so worship aligned his identity. It reminded him of who God was, that God was sovereign over all, had authority over all, and that he established heaven's authority on earth. We are seated with Christ in heavenly places. We are with him, but we're establishing his kingdom here on earth. And so I just wanted you to know, you have that same authority that empowered David. It's the same authority available to you today. Don't forget that you have authority, but remember, your weapon is worship. And any threat that comes its way to try to bring fear or steal from you or take from you, you do not need to be afraid. You face it head on and realize you're the threat. So that's the word for today. I believe that if David could worship in a field, he could stand in authority in the battlefield, that what we conquer in worship determines what we overcome in our life. So I pray that blesses you today.